there, good morning. It's June 5th, season's starting to really ramp up, so we know that as the summer comes on, if we're careful, the fatigue load, probably just from the work you're going to be able to do, because of the weather, because of the racing, because of all of the trips and activities, you need to make sure now more than ever that you maintain optimal movement patterns. Okay, so we're here just a little bit early. It's June 5th, so beginning of June, and we want to make sure that the body doesn't start closing down and getting tight. So we're going to start, we'll definitely be getting with the foam roller here shortly, but the first thing I want to do is just have you lay on your back, and from right here, just a little bit of a pelvic tilt. So you're pulling the pubic bone into the belly button. I'm going to get a few treats here because I hear Jackson. We'll just put him in my pocket so that I can use them as currency to make sure he behaves himself. Okay, so from right here, a little bit of a pelvic tilt. That's moving pubic bone to belly button and flatten your back. From right there, it always feels good to me to pull the ribs off the hips a little bit and create space between the ribs and the hips. From right there, we're going to engage the diaphragm and we're going to work mobility of the rib cage. So right here, we're going to go nose breathing, big inhale. And I've got my hands on my ribs so you can see them moving. Here he comes. You haven't seen Jackson in a while. Oh, he's got a slipper. Okay, Jackson. Jackson. Hey. Sit. Good boy. Okay. Okay, nose breathing. Next move is going to be to pull both knees into your chest. Jackson, leave it. Okay, gotta do my trick. Sorry. Pulling both knees into your chest. Jackson, place. Place. Come on. Good boy. Stay there. Good boy. You've got both knees pulled into your chest. Stay. And that's going to shorten the hip flexors even more, which should give you activation ultimately. Jackson, place. Place. Sit. Good boy. Stay. Stay. And we're just going to alternate knees. And you're going to just feel and recognize if there's any tightness through the hips. And if you've been working hard and you had a good weekend of playing, you're going to feel a little bit of tightness. Tightness is normal. It's a normal part of the adaptation process of training. It's kind of what you do with it. And good. Jackson, hey, place. Sit, down, stay. All right, next thing we want to do is just take you into a full kneeling position. And from right here, that same little bit of pelvic tilt, push your hips back so that the pubic bone and the rib cage maintain the same distance. So we can use measuring sticks like we do in foundation training to hold that. So thumbs on the bottom rib, pinkies on the hip bones, hip hinge to the back. Float your hands to the front. We get a counterbalance move. and we get a little bit of activation on the back side of the body. You can tell the training is going very, very well. Hold that nice and strong. From right there, you might even just give a little bit of low abdominal contraction. Hold belly button and pubic bone nice and strong. And good. Come on right back out of that. Let's go into a nice wide stance. And from right there, we're doing the same thing. Thumbs on the bottom rib, pinkies on the hip bones. Push the hips to the back, brings the hands to the front. From foundation training, this is a founder. And a founder is just a really great way to reset the body, reset the spine, create decompression through the spine, and rib cage expansion. We've kind of already been through each one of those so far. So right here, make sure your heels are outside of your toes. That's going to help internally rotate the hips. Push the hips back. We're gliding to the right. You should feel a little tension on the inner thigh. Glide to the left. You should feel tension on the inner thigh of that trail leg. So keep pushing your hips back. Good. 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 Jackson, leave it. Couple more of these. Lateral gliding. Try to create as much space between the fingertips and the hips as you can. And just shake that out. We want to work a narrower stance. Square up the outsides of the feet. And we're just going to go into a narrow founder. Push the hips back, work the hip hinge, and come right back. From here, you should feel the inside of your high hamstring. And it's really, I don't think it's usually a hamstring, it's usually the posterior fibers of adductor magnus. So narrower stance, internally rotate the toes ever so slightly, the feet are internally rotated, push the hips back, keep the big toe on the ground, and just come right back up. And from right here, we're working that hip hinge over and over again. So the space between the ribs and the hips stays the same. And we just work that hip hinge. Drive the knees a little bit towards the midline of the body. Keep the knees in. Good. And good. Jackson, place, place, down, and stay. Good boy. Stay. Position of the feet. Right here, we're going to just keep Jackson, place. Sit. Stay. From right here, keeping that foot internally rotated, we're going to go even narrower. Push the hips back, hands to the front. We had a nice run this morning. I kind of assumed he'd be just a little bit less feisty. But we're learning. It's just patience. Jackson, place. Jackson, place. And stay. All right. Keep that narrow stance. Let's go 5 of these. 1, stay. 2, 3, toes on the ground. Jackson, Jackson. 4, probably not best to do Monday mobility and dog training all at the same time. I will definitely not be starting a dog training class anytime soon. Although we are having a lot of fun with our new son. 7 months old now. All right, let's go half kneeling. This will be midnight. This is 10:30. So we want to stay out to the side, work knee over toe. We're going to go 10 reps here. 2, Jackson, get. Place. Keep going. 4, place. 6, 7, good boy. 8, 9, knee way over toe, 10. This would be about run it, throw them in the kennel. Place, leave it, lay down. Jackson, stay. Okay, same setup on the other side. Pull the ribs off the hips, knee way over toe. We're working through that lower leg, through that posterior tib, through soleus and calf. Ankle mobility. Good. Jackson down. Couple more. And good. All right, so let's get that foam roller. And I want to have a seat on the foam roller. So we've got some gentle movement. We've been working the hip hinge. We've worked a little bit of pelvic movement, mobility. We've worked rib cage mobility. Now, not the obvious characters, right? So the next one, you're going to have a seat on the foam roller and just take that left foot on top of the right. The first thing I always pay attention to is how tight does it feel even trying to put the foot onto the knee. And if I've been training, that's going to feel hard, right? A little more challenging than usual. Leave it. And just rolling through the hip. Definitely getting some good hip action. Let's have a quick conversation about discomfort in the muscle. Hit the other side hip. Come on. You're going to get two schools of thought on this. You're going to get the trainers and physical therapists that think pain is your friend when you're foam rolling. Okay, we're on the right hip now. You're not going to get that from me. I think pain is always an indication that something's not quite right. So even with foam rolling, if something's painful, I want you to work above it and below it, because then it has the best chance to release. If you jam your full body weight into a painful hip and a glute muscle, I would say we're going to take that foam roller now up into TFL, so right behind the hip bone. If you jam a foam roller in your body weight into a painful situation, what's it going to do? The conventional wisdom would be, if you push on me and it hurts, I'm going to push back. So for me, painful foam rolling is not part of the program at all. So right here, TFL, I can feel a little bit of spiciness, I can feel a little bit of discomfort, but it is not painful. And it is definitely not shooting pain, right? It's a dull, achy feel more than anything. So dull and achy, we're okay with. Good. All right, let's hit the other side, TFL. So if you had a pair of Adidas pants on and there were stripes down the side, you'd be right on those stripes with the foam roller. TFL's job is to hold your hip in the frontal plane. So it keeps your hip from sliding out to one side and sliding out the other side. It also enters into the IT band with the glute med. So if TFL is tight and not functioning well, glute med probably won't be functioning well either. So that's something we always want to be really aware of, that muscles need their friends just like anybody else, okay? Let's take that foam roller, half kneeling position, right knee up. We're going to go away from the down leg. So when we push that hip, we shift the hip to the left, we are loading that TFL. And we've just foam rolled it, so now we're mobilizing it. So same thing on the right. When the hip goes out to the side, hip goes out to the side, we're loading TFL. All right, so we want TFL to work. We don't want it to be tight. So now we're going to take that foam roller. We're going to load TFL and the lateral line of the body. We're going to take that foam roller around the head all the way around. 1, 2, load to the left, 3, load to the left, 4, and 5. Let's do 5 to the right. So right knee is down, shift the right hip, take that foam roller around the side. Right there, we're looking after that side loading, lateral line. 3, really subtle movement. 4, and 5. All right, so that movement, that head wrapping or halo movement, is going to be our next focus. So let's take the foam roller, put it just below the shoulder blades. Oh, I immediately got a little pop there. Hands behind the head, and just nice big inhale. And we're going to toggle through that movement. Definitely tightness through the chest. Working some more of that rib cage mobility with big breaths. And good. Oh. Okay, let's take that back into that midnight position with the up knee, into that half kneeling position. And we're just going to take 2 hands overhead and a nice big opening of the chest and the quad and the hip. So right there, just a nice big movement. 2, restoring movement. 3, 4, and 5. And if you feel like you can't get these movements as big as you want them, come back to this session again tomorrow after you've had a full day of having the chance to rehydrate your tissue, give nutrition to the tissue, especially if you race this weekend. Congratulations, but you might not find those end ranges that you usually find on Monday Mobility. All right? So right here, you can tell I did not race this weekend. Played a little golf on Saturday, had a nice run, nice little bike ride yesterday, and a nice easy run this morning. I'm calling this phase accumulating time in zone 2 and 1, because I'm also walking the dog a lot. And super looking forward to just building on this fitness in a really healthy way. About a year ago this time, I was training for an August half Ironman, and that was a little sidelined by a broken ankle in July. So I'm looking forward to not having that to deal with this year. I'm not super being careful because I don't think that works, but I'm definitely aware of how good I feel these days. I hope you feel good too. Have a great week. Next week's Monday Mobility will be from a new location. Hopefully you'll tune in, and I'll see you from a special location next Monday morning. Peace.